I gave a little jump for joy when I saw we were reading Jeremiah 18 today, because that's my favorite verse in Jeremiah. And I love it because when I first read it, I was wrong about it, like I am about everything at first, and then I get corrected and get right about everything. Maybe I'll be right about everything one day. I'm sure wrong enough for that to happen someday. When I first read this verse, I was in a church, and it was a very strict church where we had to wear dresses, women had to wear dresses, and you had to have long hair, and you didn't cross your legs, and we had all these rules we had to follow. And we were very strict about how we followed these rules, and we got a lot of sermons preached to us on Sunday about how God was going to come back and judge this generation, and he was going to judge everyone harshly except us, because we were doing the right thing and everyone else was doing the wrong thing. So that was my thought at the time, because that's what I believed. And we used to preach from Jeremiah chapter 18, and we used to preach about the vessel marred in the hand of the potter, because the potter is working with the clay, and he's making a pot or a plate or whatever he's making, and it becomes marred in his hand, so it's not good for the use he was going to use it for, so he remakes it into something good that can be used. And when they taught this verse to us, I don't know how they read this in there. They read the little fine print that sometimes people have fine print in their Bible that the rest of us can't see. This applies to everyone but me, you know? It's sad sometimes. And when they preached this sermon, they said, we were not the vessels marked in the hand of the potter. That was all the other Christians. They were the ones who were wrong, and God was going to use them eventually for his own use, but not for the use they were originally intended, because love, but he would still use them because he was a merciful God. He wouldn't use them for the important stuff he was going to use them. How that verse was introduced to me. So I brought it up one day when I started going to a real church. And I went to this church, and I went to their Bible study, and they asked us to share a verse that we loved, so I shared Jeremiah 18, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, it's the verse where it says that the other people are messed up, but we're not messed up. And he's like, there is no verse like that in the Bible. So we went and we looked, and we read it again. And I read it through new eyes, and I kind of see now when I read that verse, we're all messed up. All of us are messed up. We're all the vessel that's marred in the hands of the potter. But he can use all of us anyway, because he is merciful. That's what that verse is saying. It's not saying some people are better than other people, or some people can't be used for God's purposes. It's saying, look at what you are, look at what you can become when you let God work through you. And I think that's really encouraging to me. When I first started living in Big Rapids, I was living with a foster family, and we went out to dinner one day, and I had just worked my first full 2 weeks at a job. I don't think any of you will remember Village Market. You might remember it's a little grocery store where the Salvation Army store and the Dollar Tree is now, down by a family down in the Secretary of State. That used to be a grocery store called Village Market, and that was my first job. I was a bagger there, and I bagged groceries when I was 17. So I was in foster care, and I worked in my first full week and got my first paycheck. And I was really excited because, hey, I had earned this money. And so I took us out to dinner, my foster family, and we went to Big Boy, which isn't here anymore either. We're dropping like flies. I remember now all the big things used to be, but we went to dinner at Big Boy, and then we went back home, that's not good, that's an expensive lesson. And I said, I know, we have to, but there was nothing I could think of to do. And my foster sister, her teenage daughter, is like, I don't know what to do. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna find your money. And I was like, what? She's like, I'll help you. So she drove me around to every place we had stopped, every gas station we had stopped at, and eventually we ended up back at Big Boy. And she said, come on, we can find it. And we had my foster mom on the cell phone, and she was praying to St. Michael for the patron saint of lost things, so that we would be able to get his help finding my paycheck. Because that was a big deal to me. That was a lot of money. And so we stopped with people at Big Boy, and they were closing up for the night, and they said that they had already taken the trash out, but if we wanted to, we could dig through the trash in the dumpster. And I said, no, we can't do that. And she said, yeah, we can. We can just dig through it's fine. We're going to go. We're going to find your money. And I was like, you don't even know me. This was the first dinner I had eaten with this lady before in my life. She didn't know who I was. And she said, no, I'm going to help you. Come on. So she parked out by the dumpster, and we climbed into the dumpster. We dug through every bag of trash we could until we found my paycheck. And we held it up, and everybody cheered in the parking lot, and it was great. And she hugged me, and she said, that's what happens when you have God on your side. And I will never forget that, because a lot of times we get this image of God from things we hear, from things we see, and we see people mess up, and they don't always portray the best image of God that they can, and sometimes it's a little skewed, like my original church and how they preached about the vessel marred in the hand of the potter. But you can also look around you and you can see Jesus showing up for you every day in your life in these things. Like, that's my Jesus. He came down and dug through a dumpster for me. And that's what I try to remember when I think about these verses, and I think about the good things we can do and the things we can do to make the world a better place. God can use us, and we can help somebody, and sometimes it's as simple as something. I'm never going to forget that she dug through a dumpster for me. I will remember that for the rest of my life. And it probably doesn't seem like a big deal to her, but it seemed like a huge deal to me. And I'm grateful that I have people in my life who can show me this is what Jesus can do. This is Jesus showing up. Hi, it's me. I came down from heaven to be with you, even in a dumpster, and I will help you out. And that just, it brings me a lot of joy, and that's what I think of when I think of this verse now. I try not to think about the bad things, but I think about the good things that I've seen, and the times when I've seen God show up in people around me, and it encourages me. And so I hope that it encourages you, because I see God in each and every one of you too, and I hope that you can just go out into the world and shine the way I see you shine, and you can do amazing things. Even things that seem small can mean a lot to people, and you can make a difference, and that's what this is all about. That's what we're trying to do. So I hope you remember that when you remember these verses. Let us stand together and say the Apostles' Creed.